All right. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Serious Angler podcast, powered by our friends over at X2 Power Batters. We're here at the beautiful St. Lawrence River, the smallmouth mecca of the world. And as always, I'm your host, Bailey Egbert, up here with Mr. X2 himself, Mr. Sean Budiak.
Kind of a little bit of like playing Andrew Full, little co-host today.
Yeah. I have a new co-host, much better looking than Andrew is. It's nice to not have an ugly mug on the show for once. But talk about your first time in the probably literally the greatest smallmouth fishery in the entire planet.
It's been a pretty cool day. Honestly, even just starting with the morning, like when I woke up, came down and saw the fog coming off that water, it's been awesome. And then watching everything we got recorded today, this morning, be able to sneak out and throw a couple lines in the water a little bit, catch some bass. Yeah, along the way has been awesome. This place is cool. Came on a good day too, probably.
Yeah. Obviously on the tail end of a Bassmaster Elite event where they set records upon records and absolutely whooped on them. You could tell these fish were struggling a little bit this morning when they were pitching baits on them because they're like, I think we've seen you guys for the past 8 days. But nonetheless, this fishery is so special that it didn't matter. Everyone, caught some good fish, had a great time. Always good when we get this crew together. And we have a great show today because Sean, obviously, co-host, but we're also going to have on a few different guests for you guys today. No strangers to the show. We'll have Mr. Fletcher Shryock, his brother Hunter Shryock, and Mr. Justin Hamner on. And Sean and I get the pleasure of interrogating them for a while. So you guys get them all on the same show today. Ask them some fun questions. Have a good time. But any other takeaways from being in the probably the greatest fishery in America right now?
I think my takeaway today was everything we've been doing with you guys with X2, with our pro staff, coming around and sitting at the launch this morning and looking at 8 guys doing this for their career, all there ready to do what they did today for us, for the brand, and
busting their butt.
Yeah, it's awesome. And it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And that's just the cool part of today and being on this lake and in this river system. We're going to keep this thing going and keep it bigger and bigger every year.
Gives you some motivation fuel.
It does. It's pretty cool.
So we'll have to give shout outs to the other boys that are actually on their way home. They've been on a bender. So, Carl, Gussie, Josh Douglas, who you guys have to wait to see on the X2 Power YouTube channel if I whooped up on them today or not. It was a pro versus podcaster showdown. And we had a lot of fun. You guys will enjoy that one. But obviously, we'll have to give a shout out to Mr. Brent Ayler, who made the effort to fly from California for this event. And, of course, Philadelphia had to say, nope, you don't get to go catch any fish this week.
To his credit, he wanted to drive up here, though.
He did.
He wanted to drive 9 hours, and we just said.
To your point, like these guys are ready to get after it. They'll give everything. To go home. That's right. But I think without further ado, let's bring on our first victim here. Bring on Mr. Fletcher Shryock. All right, folks, we are back. We're back with our first victim of the night, Mr. Fletcher Shryock.
The victim.
It's a victim. First of all, thank you for taking the time to come up here and join us this weekend. Obviously, had a lot of fun. I don't think anyone's going to say no to coming up here.
You didn't have to beg me too much, did you? You didn't have to beg me too much. That's for sure. This place is fishing awesome, as we saw this past week. So, and today was incredible, too. We got blessed with some really good weather for this event, too.
No kidding.
I think tomorrow's going to be light and variable once again, so that's pretty awesome. But thanks for having me.
Of course. I mean, the whole gang here, this is a lot of fun. Everybody's good to get, especially with you guys, all your seasons are done. It's kind of like a little bit of unwind just to get prepared to literally start right back at it. I'm sure you're already, planning on next year. Things have already kicked
I was
in.
telling Sean, like the way my year went, this is the first time in August I'm still fired up. Like I ain't turning it off. So all the way, hopefully I can keep it all the way to February. You know what I mean? And,
yeah.
This year didn't work out real good. So I'm just, like I said, the first time, I'm just ready to go in August. If it was up to me, we'd still be fishing tournaments right now. Just wouldn't stop.
I could tell there was a little bit of fire this morning as old Dougie and I were out on Ontario, and you and your brother came a nice 15 feet from the back of the motor.
Hunter tried to pretend like he was stealing your spot.
Yeah. I'm just pretending to press the screen. He's like, wait.
He really did, though.
I'm sure he did. We'll interrogate him about that later on.
I don't think that spot was too big of a secret, though.
No.
When I looked at it on the map, but either way.
I think everybody and their mother knows about that.
Place
up
so.
here.
But there's fish there. There's no doubt.
Oh, for sure. Well, I guess first question, because we got a bunch of stuff we're going to ask you guys tonight, but schedule obviously released for MLF. How you feeling about the lakes you're going to next year?
I think it's good. We've got a good mix. We've got some winter tournaments, pre-spawn tournaments, and then we don't have a whole lot of forward-facing sonar events. I think I'm not against forward-facing sonar, but I think they tried to mix it up and give it a little bit of both.
Sure.
We're going to be going to a couple tidal fisheries. It's still going to play, but maybe not as much. I think that's the biggest thing. We're watching the sport go from no forward-facing sonar to the landscape of everything changing so fast. A lot of people haven't adjusted to that, both the anglers and the fans. So I think it's kind of good to have a mix and see where it lines up next year. But overall, for me, the way I like to fish, there's a few in there. This one being the last one. I suck here. I'm just going to say it. When they're shallow, I've caught them. The last time we were here, I think I just missed the top 10. But other than that, I've done terrible here. So I'm up here to get it right this time, hopefully, and we'll see what happens. But overall, the schedule sets up, I think, pretty good for me, and I think pretty good for the fans and the anglers too. So
that's kind of something I'm surprised about, is because like you're no stranger to smallmouth and Great Lakes, because you and your brother growing up on Erie.
If you put me out on the lake where there's no current, I'm good. I'm Gucci. I can pan around, throw to them, catch them, reel them in, a whole bit. You put me out here in this current, it's a totally different animal.
Yeah,
they don't pop up and show up on your active target near as well, and the places they hide in are really specific. There's just a lot more when you add that current. It just really changes everything. We're only allowed going to the mouth, so we're in the current the whole time. Yep. See, when I caught them shallow, I didn't have to fish in that current, but in August, you're going to more than likely have to. So that's the big deal for me. If I could go to the lake, man, I would run from Messina to the lake if I could, so, but we'll see what we can do.
Makes total sense. Heck yeah. Well, I guess on that topic, we'll start getting into some of our questions here. I'm going to skip the second one, just being on topic on the Great Lakes.
Yep, absolutely.
Is you and Hunter, obviously, born in Ohio, being on Erie all the time. You've had to be in some gnarly stuff. So do you have like one instance that stands out in your mind, like the biggest water you've been in?
Yeah, I was a Bassmaster Open out of St. Clair one time, out of the north end of St. Clair, and me and Hunter was running the Erie every day because you had to at that time to win. But the second day it was a small craft advisory, and I was all in. I was either going to win and make the classic or not, or however the scenario. Pretty much, dude. It was bad, and like we knew the day before it was going to be bad, and the first day was bad, and I had to call my. It's a long story, but I had to call my calling the night before and make sure he was mentally ready to do it because I mean people don't realize it all sounds like whatever whenever you're just chilling at the house, but when you get out there, I'm talking any of the big Great Lakes, you get out there, you start. Religious people become religious at that point. You know what I mean? Like people start praying that aren't religious. And anyway, I had a co-angler that day that he was a grown man. He was so pumped to go, but he was crying at one point.
Oh, wow.
I hate to put him on the spot, but it got pretty bad. I didn't think we were making it back. Luckily, I caught him. I pull up. It was like pop, pop, pop. I had 21 or 22 pounds, about as fast as I've ever caught him. I'm pretty sure. Man. And then that gave me enough time. I think it took me close to 4 hours to get back. And I made it back with like 8 minutes left. Geez. And that nitro at that time had a 66-gallon fuel tank. And when I filled it up for the day 3, final day or whatever, I know it took like 66 and change to fill it up. So I about ran out of fuel too, because it was such a long, all the waves and you know what I mean? It was a long, it was crazy. So yeah, there's that one. And Hunter's got a real good story.
We're going to be asking him the same question.
He's got one that's a little bit worse than mine actually, but yeah, you got to respect it. I mean, when that water out there, the wind shifts, the weather, a cell comes in or whatever, man, it can get nasty fast. So you got to respect it.
Yeah, you don't play around out here, is for dang sure. But you made a cool point though. That was like you caught them quicker than you ever had in the bigger. It seems like the bigger the waves, the faster and bigger they bite.
Yeah, where I was fishing was actually protected. So it was
it
was roll over there, pop, 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 and then it just happened to be that they bit that quick because the first and the third day was
your favorite.
Because I would not have made it. There's no question. How I didn't run out of gas is beyond me too. So it's a wild day.
It all worked out.
Yeah. You want to take the next one?
Yeah. So you had big water story. All the traveling you do, even coming up here, flipping from jumping on a plane to I'm driving, I'm coming up, and I'm fishing. What's your greatest travel story you've had?
I've got a lot of them, but I would have to say probably last year whenever Callie was pregnant, 6 months pregnant, and then all of a sudden I'm going to fish the MLF Team Series event in Minnesota. I just land, and she calls me like, water broke. So I'm like, how? Like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean?
Are you sure?
And she's a huge vault. We watch college football. We're talking. I'm like, yes, how about the vault? She's like, no, seriously, my water broke. I'm like, it can't happen. Like, I'm one and only,
Right.
So I one and only child, but I'm like, how's that even possible? So we ended up having her 3 months early. But that journey from the time I landed in Minnesota to getting back to Chattanooga, I made it back at like 4 in the morning. It was a wild one. I had to like hoof it, and I ended up paying an Uber. One of the Ubers backed out on me halfway through. It was a disaster. But yeah, that was probably the best one that sticks out in my mind. And the whole time I'm stressed because I want to be there, and like it was not an ideal situation. You can't just say, let me go from Minneapolis to Chattanooga at 9 o'clock at night and just expect it all to work out. No. But I did it. It wasn't pleasure, like a good thing. And she held it off for like 5 or 6 days anyway. So I should have just got a hotel and coasted my way back. But that's not, that wouldn't have been cool. So
no, you were there for lady. That's what matters. But and the Munchkin's doing great.
Yeah, all's good. She's awesome. Yep, she was 2 pounds at that time, and now she's a little behind, but she's doing really good. So that's cool.
Heck yeah. So on that topic, being grown up motocross, but also full-time fishing, would you have a bias for your kids? Like if they got into either or?
I'm going to get her a little bike. I will not. I would like for her to race and ride a little bit, but as far as like getting wide open into it, and especially with her being a girl, I'd rather not really. I know what that's going to entail, but it's up to her like completely. She doesn't want to ride. She doesn't want to ride. Whatever the case is, she can do what she's going to do. Yeah. But I would rather her not try to take the path that me and my brother did and try to go to the top and then just fall short and be all busted up. And it's a really cool thing. Like we had a lot of good times with me and my brother and my dad and all that stuff. But there's a lot of sacrifice that goes on in that sport for sure. That a lot of people don't see, from finances to, which fishing is very similar. Right. You just don't have the injuries and all that. So that's what makes motocross obviously takes it to another level.
Yeah. So. And if you do have injuries, it's usually because of this place.
Yeah. I think I'm more hurt by this stuff than I am from my dirt bike, honestly, at this point.
Yeah, we heard a few of those stories earlier today. So here's a question. So next one, we talked a lot about bass fishing today and like the future of it. We had a really good, I feel like almost like a good group think on the future of bass fishing. But to switch gears from that, more as a professional angler, the day in, day out grind that you guys go through, some of the hardest working people I've ever met. If you could, single-handedly change one aspect of being a pro angler, what would you change? Whether it's, whether it's to travel or payouts, or if it's, sponsors or whatever. Like, what was one thing about
that's so hard to say. There's so many things I would love to say. Oh, this or that, or a forward-facing sonar, or
right.
I think the biggest thing is like I know personally, I spend the majority of my time. If I had to punch a time clock, it wouldn't be pretty. I wouldn't want to do it.
Right.
But I love it. And I think that's the reason why like you said, you have so many guys that work really hard. Well, it's their job, but they also freaking love what they do. Yeah. And even on the day, there's a lot of days I don't love it, to be perfectly honest, but you want to be successful because you know how good that feels. So you're doing everything you can every day to try to get to stay, or whatever the case is, it never ends. So it was interesting watching the Elite's last event here and just hearing some of the stories talking about guys that were not going to requalify, guys that were trying to make guys that were trying to make the classic, falling in, falling out, guys. Obviously you had the AOI race, and there's so many things that go on in the sport. And like, I guess for me, like, I just want to know that I at least put my time in, did what I could do, but I love it. So it doesn't seem like work, but the time is, I don't want to say I want the time back, but the time is so time consuming. So,
we'll make it
do it right.
Yeah. And that's a great point. And I think it's unrealistic to say that, the people out there that have great positive mental attitude. And I think it's a great thing, but I also think that it's unrealistic to say that every day is like this amazing day, especially what you guys do, because you guys go through some hard times. And I'm not saying hard in regards to what most people think. I mean, like in regards to stress levels, in regards to I have to perform. It's like, you think about it, it's, coming up, I have these tournaments I got to worry about, but I also got to worry about making sure I got contracts for next year. Like it's a lot of moving variables for you guys. And you talk about the weigh-in, I think there's some interesting, when I look at this past tournament and I was watching weigh-ins and hearing speeches like you're talking about, it's a lot of different perspectives flying around. You have guys that are going out and catching 27 pounds a day, they're loving life. They're like, hell yeah. There's guys that are fighting for their career, trying to stay qualified in this thing. There's guys that are catching 18 pounds a day. They're mad because they sucked in the river, but they're perfectly qualified for next year, when they could realize there's guys that aren't going to be qualified, that are kind of down the dumps, but they're still staying positive. It's like an interesting conflict of the different perspectives that are going on.
It's a lot going on.
And it's a great reminder just to remember, like, hey, you woke up breathing today.
Yeah, that's something I've got to remind myself a lot. Like,
everybody does that. Let's be real.
And I'm going to be on, like, for me, I feel like over time I've done my best. It's been the past 4 years or so. But like, when I don't worry about stuff as much, when everything's I just kind of let it go a lot more. And this year I had a bad year. So now I'm starting to do the opposite of what I should be doing. But I know the times that I did my best was whenever I just let a lot of stuff go.
Free.
And just be really free. Not just fish free, but just everything I did was just kind of whatever. And it always worked. It seemed to work out a lot better in that scenario. But you start missing a few cuts, and then you start getting pissed off. And then you start trying, you start trying harder. So I'm gonna do what I've got to do. But I also know the power of, I don't want to say not caring, because that's definitely not the case.
Right.
But just taking it all in, relaxing, taking the day as it is. There's a lot to that too. I mean, it's a huge mental sport, obviously. It's a huge momentum sport that we play.
Right. 100%.
You're kind of answering the question I was going to ask, but we had a good conversation today, just now, about what it takes to get into this sport, what it takes to make this your life, your livelihood. What would you say in all of your years if someone's looking to aspire to get into this? What would your advice be, to them, to get them not only giving it all, giving everything they got to get here, but when you get here, what's the biggest piece of advice?
Yeah, stay.
That's a lot there. I do want to, one thing that kind of jumps out to me with what you asked, for the younger kids, there's a lot of guys now, a lot of high schoolers, college kids that want to be pro anglers. And I think the biggest thing that I see, and it may not be as bad as what I see visually, but it seems like there's so many guys that are worried about trying to have the sponsors in the jersey and the quote, I'm a such and such sponsored by this and that, which is good.
The status.
But I feel like most of the guys that I've watched in motocross that were successful, and the people that are successful in pro fishing, they focus on the game, man. They don't care about anything other than the game. And then it gets to a certain point where all those things that you see a lot of these kids trying to get all those things, right? Which when I raced dirt bikes, the reason why I kind of got wise to it early on where I was 13, 14, 15. Sorry, these things are cutting out. I was real big into trying to get this sponsor and that sponsor, making sure my bikes had a certain look. And like, I look back at that, I was like, that was the dumbest waste of time.
Chasing the flashy
stuff.
stuff.
You're worrying about the stuff that don't need to do. Get on the bike and go win. Like everything else gonna take care of itself. Yeah. Like, stop worrying about how clean your bike is after the moto. Like, if it's good to ride the second moto, worry about going. Hey, how about you go get you a couple bottles of water, relax, think about some line choices, and go out and win the second moto. Don't worry about how pretty your stuff is. So I'm been guilty of it too, but I just see a lot of guys younger kids doing it nowadays, and just my advice is just stay focused on the game.
I think that comes with the social media generation.
It's
and
worse
seeing
now.
the attention span shortened, but also the flashy stuff. And they see these people, these statuses, these people that, quite frankly, they look up to, and they see all the stuff they've achieved because of going through exactly what you're saying. And they see that, and they're like, "Oh, I want flashy stuff." And there's the generation now. I feel like and I'm horrible. I'm impatient as hell. They're like, I want this, I want it now. And they kind of rush that process. And I think that could be for sure in part of what you're talking about, where there's the people that are behind the scenes. They're not on social media. They're putting in the work. And I
don't want this to come across wrong. I don't want to say don't do that stuff. Right. By any stretch. I'm not saying don't have nice stuff or don't worry about, I'm not trying to be that. I'm just saying make your main focus the game. That's all I'm trying to say. And if a guy can do, if a guy's got sponsors, that's great. I'm just saying don't make that your main focus and key thing that, if I get these sponsors, I'm playing, I've got my pro card and things like that. Like, I think the biggest thing, if I'm trying to genuinely help someone, focus on your game, focus on your craft, and whether it's fishing, right, whatever it is, and you're going to be way better off for it. If that's genuinely what you want to do. If you just want to fish local events and, be a pro staff guy and do content and all that stuff, there's a job for you all day long for that too. Right. I think that's oftentimes overlooked. If so many guys want to be a pro angler, but there's so many different avenues. You don't have to be a pro fisherman nowadays to make a good living, to be exposed, be out there, have tons of fans and followers, and you don't have to go win bass tournaments at the highest level to have all that stuff either. So maybe there's different avenues for people that want to play that game. So there's definitely a lot of different ways to go about it. But as far as being really good at something, you just got to dedicate to it. So
for sure.
I just want to make sure that didn't get twisted.
No, I think everybody for sure got that. So, last question for you. We'll let you go here. If you had the choice of, for the next Red Crest, obviously there's a location for this one on Lay Lake, but if it was up to you to choose the lake that was at Red Crest and say that a lake that's never been in a championship before, never been a classic or a Red Crest before, but of your choosing, where would you go?
That's hard to say, dude. Honestly, I love Florida. So it'd have to be somewhere down there, probably. And there's not many lakes that we haven't been to down there, but that's like my first go-to.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of little places popping up, especially now, you have Red Crest and, the Classic could do it too. It's a smaller field.
Right.
So you can get by on some smaller bodies of water. We don't have to go to a Toledo Bend or a Gunnersville to accommodate 40 boats. So, no, there's definitely some cool lakes out there that I think that could fit that bill. But as far as me, I just want to fish somewhere up shallow in the dirt and let the best man win,
Oh, yeah.
But we don't see that too often.
I know.
That's all right.
I know.
We'll keep rolling with it.
So I know we're going a little over here, but I'm kind of you bring it up. Why haven't we seen a Classic or Red Crest in Florida?
There was a Classic when Luke Clausen won down there in 2006, but I think that was about the last time.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wow.
There's a lot of questions about the schedule I have personally, but
yeah.
We could go on and on. Those are all the things we can go on and
That's
on.
That's a whole
episode,
stuff, so. For sure.
I've been long-winded long enough here, I think. So
nonetheless, you're much appreciated. Sean, anything else?
You guys.
No, appreciate everything you're doing.
Cool.
It's
Thank
awesome
you guys so much.
to have you here and look forward to next year.
Yeah, same here. Thank you.
Sir. Well, appreciate it, man.
All right.
Cool.
Appreciate it.
All right, folks. We are back with the better half of the Shryock brothers.
I didn't hear anything you guys were talking about, so I feel like I'm not prepared.
It was actually really bad. We might not even have to post it. No, I was kidding. It was perfectly fine. It was a good time talking with your brother, but also he kind of set up the pitch for some cool stories here that we got to know.
He's going to stand right in front of it like he's recording it.
He's going to grill you. That would be funny. Just
color details.
Guys, we wouldn't get through it. Steven. Is Steven the one that's filming with Jacob today?
I think so.
He's with us. Yeah. Yeah, ask him how we got along. Look.
It's him. His tolerance is about.
Exactly. I do not put up with it.
So you two, growing up, were
all the time.
All the time?
That was a bad choice today?
No, it's just normal. It's just people don't understand it, and they're kind of like, oh, they're about to fight.
Yeah, and it makes great content.
It'll make good content.
Oh, it'll be something.
Well, the midst of that, we kind of started talking about it a little bit offline here, but you got some pretty crazy travel stories.
Yeah.
Pick one of the two you mentioned. Let's get into that because I'm dying to know.
We could do. Well, okay. Let's do the one where we go down to. Is it Falcon? We went to Falcon, right? So I would always go pre-fishing with Fletcher back when he was in the first started fishing the Elite Series 2012, 2013. So I'd always end up but I would end up driving half the time. Just, I'd go, we'd fish, yada, yada, yada. So there we are at Falcon. One of the days, Fletcher had stuff to do. I'm going to take the boat out by myself. Okay. And I'm going to go fishing because it's Lake Falcon. It's giants everywhere. And we go out, or I go out by myself, don't even really know how to fish out of a boat anyhow. I do, but not like I do now.
Right.
And I'm fishing this point in this timber. And, they said, don't go to Mexico, whatever you do. The border runs right through the middle of the lake. Don't go to Mexico. But the best side is the Mexican side. And so what do? I naturally want to go over there and flip trees. I get over the other side, and I'm flipping trees, and I'm catching fish. And then this boat starts coming right at me. And the whole time, people's like, don't let people get close to you in their boats or whatever, especially like the little fishing boats.
Right.
Don't come near. or don't let them come near you.
Oh, God.
So I'm just sitting there and I'm
don't
keeping.
fish in Mexico and don't let boats come.
Yeah,
in.
and I
All right.
did both of them.
We're off to a great start.
And I'm watching this boat come from across the other point, and it keeps coming, and it keeps coming. And there's a path for him to cut out of all that like mesquite tree stuff, like you see in Texas. It's all like real flimsy branches and stuff. They just keep coming. I'm like, dude, all right, I got to do something. I'm in this bright orange boat, like obvious as I'll get out. So I just get the boat turned around, put it on pad, and just start heading right at them. And they shoot off into the like trees. Not like we almost hit each other. It wasn't like but we're kind of playing chicken. And they kind of dodged off.
You chose blood. That's what he said.
I have no choice. And I know I'm going to get killed if I peel his wrap. So I'm like, I'm just going like, get out of the way. And so, boom, I make my turn after they ditch. And I ran back to the American side, didn't really think nothing of it. But I stayed over there because I'm like, that was pretty freaky encounter. So the rest of the week, we fish together and we keep tabs on like boats around us. Yeah. There was a helicopter. There was guns going off over the dam. This different
Holy
scenario.
crap.
But anyhow, so we just
and you guys are like, let's go flip it. Let's go.
This is all because we're literally preparing for him to fish the Bassmaster Elite event the following year. That's all it was.
Uh-huh.
And so we leave. We're driving home. We're like 2 hours away from there. This officer is at the gas station. He's like, "You guys fish Falcon?" Yeah. And he's like, "Oh man, we don't go there anymore." And we're like, "What's the big deal?" And he's like, "Dude," he's like, "they like seek out bass boats because they know that they could use your boat because it doesn't look suspicious to be able to run
Gosh.
drugs.
You're almost a mule.
Yes. And so he's like, they literally get close to you. He's like, they won't shoot you unless they are right up on you. And so, and all of this is being told to us after we spent a week there. And we're like, okay, this just got
You're
really,
yeah.
yeah.
We're good.
Yeah.
We're
So
alive.
can I say that's exactly what happened? No, but it probably was the case.
Good gosh.
Good thing you won at that game of chicken.
We had
Yeah.
well, yeah, like I don't know.
You chose Bulldog and apparently it worked. That's got to be kind of sketchy though, like being told that and you're just like, your skin was probably crawling
Oh
at
yeah,
that point.
and then we told our parents about it at the time too, and they didn't like it.
I can't imagine they did. Can't imagine. Yeah, and then I went.
I don't think I've ever
right
been
at
back.
him.
I don't think I've ever been back in that situation.
A month later, not one boat was out there.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. You think that's because the event was going on, type of deal? Oh, where is it? Damn. Yeah.
Just come in, Fletch. You just get a mic. Come on. Sit next to mine. No, that was
pretty
one
wild.
of many stories.
That's pretty epic. Now that you can tell, it's epic because you can tell it to me.
Right, that's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. You want to take the next one?
Sure. So you have travel stories. We're sitting out here on St. Lawrence on the big lake. Any horror stories around just big water? Days you wish you would have made better decisions.
This one was
All that fun
This
stuff.
was all teed up from Fletcher.
May have been.
All right, so this
Only
is actually
slightly.
this is going to be like insightful for people wanting to fish the Great Lakes. First off, I started fishing back in like 2012. My first boat was 2012. 2013, I fished the opens as a boater. So quick learning curve,
Yeah, right into it.
Yeah, right into it. It wasn't ready, but that was the deal that I felt like I needed to do if I was going to, try to fast track this stuff. But anyhow, that being said, the Great Lakes are not a place to play around on because if you do not know what you're doing, things can go south really, really quickly. And I think, people can get themselves in situations that if you're not comfortable with driving your boat and know how to, bad things are going to happen. And, so anyhow, I'm preparing for the 2013 Bassmaster Opens. Got a Ranger bass boat. I'm going to go fish on Erie by myself. And I always fish with my brother Fletcher. He's always one driving the boat. It's easy, right? I just go out there and catch smallmouth.
Yeah.
Well, it's my turn to be the man and drive and know what's going on. Well, south wind, the further you get away from the south shore, it starts getting worse. I didn't put the 5-blade prop on like I should have in the morning. Not that you really needed it, but for me at the time, I needed it. I start going out, going a little fast, kind of like almost speared one. I'm like, dang, I better slow down. Go a little slower. Finally, I hit one pretty good, and that should have been the time that I'm like, all right, I need to angle the boat differently or whatever. No, kept going, go through a wave. And I'm not talking like, kind of got water. I'm talking go through the wave and be chest deep when you come out the other side. Like this, like you're in a vacuum, okay? And
oh, God.
what's the first thing that you do when you spear a wave? Do you know?
Nope.
Do you know?
I just feel like I've always been a co-angler when
You hammer it, the throttle. You don't let off, okay?
right.
You stand that sucker straight up, let the bilge kick in, let the water run out the back,
Yeah.
okay? So what happened to me is I hit through that wave and just the initial shock of like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I'm by myself. There's no one around within miles, and I'm chest deep in water. First thing I do is jump up, kill the engine, and think of how am I going to get the water out. Okay.
Oh, geez.
And I have a south wind coming behind me. Like the waves are getting not sporty, but they're building.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm trying to get the water out of the boat. I'm taking a spinnerbait box and scooping the water out.
Oh,
Okay.
God.
This is like a cartoon at this point. And I'm like, this isn't working because now the boat's so heavy that the water's literally coming over the back of the boat. Get back down. I gotta get on the engine. I go to turn the key, won't start.
Oh, jeez.
All the water's in the boat. Okay. So this is where it gets really bad. And I'm like miles from shore of anything. I'm literally out in the middle of Lake Erie. And the waves are coming over the back deck and like trying to sink the boat.
Oh, no.
And I'm, so all this is rolling through my head that I lift up the rod compartment up front, like, to, get my phone out, and there's water.
Oh, gosh.
So literally the water level's here, the boat's like this. So I get on the trolling motor, and somehow, and I don't know how the batteries kept working, but they were completely submerged. The motor was submerged. Wow. Like almost submerged.
Yeah.
And somehow I was able to troll a motor over to land, beach the boat. And this is hours of trolling. And the boat being basically almost sunk.
That's insane.
Yeah. Get over there, get the water out, and the engine fired up, and I ran straight back to where I launched from. It's about 15 miles away.
Just left.
I went straight back. Yeah, I was done. And
Damn.
like this close to being a not very good situation. Like,
Damn.
Something. So the whole thing in a nutshell is be really, really comfortable with your equipment and know exactly what's going on with the weather. Mm-hmm. Not that the weather really played like a sneak surprise, but if you don't know what you're doing, you can get yourself in such a bad position so quickly. And from that day on, obviously I learned how to drive a boat better, but that's just how quick, just because you're in a fiberglass boat or whatever, you're not invincible. Yeah. And that was an eye opener.
Well, and that's a good lesson though for folks. I mean, you see it, you see it firsthand of anglers that do the opens or the Toyotas, and they get into it almost too early in regards to. I think there's a lot of fishers you can get into it from a what's quote unquote a beginner, at least from a boater level, right? They might be a great angler, but from a boater level, it'd be okay.
Yeah,
but the Great Lakes, you want to spend time.
That was my position. Like at that point, I still haven't gone through all these scenarios in a boat. Obviously I have my boater's license and whatever, but that doesn't really apply to those situations and how a boat handles and how to keep the front end high, or you need to trough it or go 3 miles the wrong direction because the wind's going to be better from this angle. Right. All this stuff's got to, it comes natural now, but at the time, and people that are beginning to learn how to drive a boat, just don't go drop in someplace that has, characteristics of the Great Lakes that can get yourself in
Spend
trouble.
some time on it before you
Yes.
think about doing a tournament. Yeah. Well, and more importantly, spend some time with somebody who has experience driving in that, for sure.
And don't fish by yourself
Yeah.
on massive bodies of water,
Mm-hmm.
because like I could have fell in, and I
Yeah.
mean,
That's it.
there's no one around. Water's probably 60 degrees.
Yeah.
I don't know how long you're going to last in that.
Not very.
No,
Not very. So with that, I mean,
Good stories.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
a little over 10 years, you gotta quite the resume going so far. But I'm sure if we ask Fletcher if we ask Fletcher to come back in, there'll be more.
How many stories of his did we tell?
We have some same stuff. There's
Okay.
some good. I mean, if you got some good, you want to embarrass them, by all means, let it rip. But I was gonna go off the topic of that's
Okay.
one great advice for folks, and that was actually going to be something we were going to ask along the lines of if for somebody that is upcoming, going through, or even for yourself in this journey, the best piece of advice that you got trying to pursue a professional career in fishing.
Oh man, best piece of advice. Man,
It could be even something that you are saying, like from you to somebody coming up. Maybe not what you got, but maybe something you've developed.
I mean, just fish as many tournaments as you can. Getting bodies of water that you're unfamiliar with is such a big deal. I think I never did the co-angling thing. I was fortunate enough to go boater side initially, but looking back on it, so many people can do co-angler side and get the same type of experience of witnessing a body of water. You get to go out with two different boaters essentially, or a boater that day, and get that experience. And that's really what fishing is at the end of the day, is seeing scenarios and seeing how fast you're able to adapt and adjust to those scenarios. So being able to just break down a body of water quicker, that's only because you've got that knowledge,
Right.
built in, that you've experienced something like that. So if you can do co-angling, by all means, try to do as much as you can, different divisions, different places, parts of the country, because ultimately that stuff always comes back around to helping you out down the road. I just finished like 89th place in St. Lawrence River, like one of my favorite places to fish, got my butt kicked, but I learned so much about it, and it may not help me next year or the year after, but it's going to help me some time down the road, like something that I did. And that's just another,
Some
token in
learning
the experience
lesson.
bank that boom, it's going to help you. So that's all. The best advice I could give is just, try to get as much time on the water, different places. It always comes back down the road.
Yeah. And I think that's a great thing to bring up too is, Polnick, I think he said it last year. I want to say he put it out with his Pickwick video, was the win or learn. There is no lose, it's win or learn. And I took that pretty to heart afterwards, because there's a lot of people that take a loss or they don't win or a bad event and they never let it go. They're a head case about it, and understandably so. That used to be me. Whereas you could look at it, be mad for a day, but then you can look at it as something to learn and improve on.
So many lessons. Like every year, it's the list goes on and on. It's just not for me. It's you. It's everybody that does this stuff. You just learn so many little things. I was just at Champlain. Second day, I called the wrong fish out at Champlain. Just literally ounces. Ounces is huge.
Man.
Okay. No, well, here's the deal. That was such a mental error of me being organized in the day of fishing. Had a very unproductive day. Caught the fish towards the end. Wasn't prepared to make that call with 10 minutes to leave, so I hurried up. Made the wrong call.
Oh man.
Called out a 280 instead of a 250. So there's 0.3,
and in Champlain
almost
weights
5 ounces.
Yeah.
Missed the cut by 4 ounces.
Oh,
so that
hurts even more.
$7,500 mistake.
Yeah.
But it's $7,500 lesson. So now I'll never do that again. So that I have to get my, weighing, all that stuff in order. And you watch the guys that do it, they catch one, they weigh it, And I'm like the opposite because I want to get back out there fishing, which has some truth to it. But I've learned.
Yeah. You ain't gonna do it again.
From my pain.
Yeah.
I'll remember that one.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, looking at the bright side of it, I think that is a testament to the season you've had. Is that still classic bound? You might not be happy with your finish here. You might have made the mistake at Champlain, but you were still pretty safely in the classic for next year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we came into this, well, kind of like this last smallmouth swing, like knowing that we kind of have the classic bound up and we can try to do things more towards trying to win, which obviously that doesn't look like that on paper, but the way I practice and stuff like that was to try to give yourself more of a chance at having a higher finish instead of, I have to get a top 50. I have to do this type of thing because you start pigeonholing. But no, I appreciate that. We had a really good season. That all goes back to last season by missing the classic by a point, so it's, I think everybody will say that everything's like this in our sport nowadays. It's this close. It's no different than football or, any other sport where it comes down to a game of inches. Yeah. And I think everybody gets the same amount of opportunities in a day. You might get 10 bites. This guy gets 12 bites. But ultimately, if you make a mistake, somewhere it's going to cost you. A top 50, a top 10, a win, whatever it is, you cannot mess up.
I don't know who said it. It was somebody on stage this year. I think it was earlier in the year, but they said it's a game perfection.
Yep.
Exactly like you said.
Yep.
Everyone at your level is essentially from a skill standpoint is here. They're all essentially the same. It's mindset and game perfection.
Yep.
Who can mess up the least.
Right. That's exactly what it is. Because we can all catch them. Everybody catches them.
Yep.
It's just, did you do it that day?
Yep.
That 8 hours. So
great point.
Yeah.
You want to hit on with that last question?
Close out. So you mentioned the classic. You can be in the classic coming up. Looking at where it's been, what's a lake it's never been at that you wish the next one would be your destination?
It's never been at.
It's never been at.
Never been at.
Loved it to be at.
I would just like it to be at a different place that it's never been at.
Anywhere?
Yeah, let's just go anywhere it's never been at.
Forget Hartwell. Forget Gunnersville. Let's go somewhere new.
Yeah. Name them off. You already know.
What, for the classics?
Yeah.
It's Gunnersville. It's Hartwell. Tennessee River.
Grand Lake.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of your foreign rotation.
Yeah.
And then you have
I can't remember some of the other ones.
They only been to Ray Roberts once, right?
Right. That was a good dude. That was.
It was fishing relatively tough though for you guys too.
I know,
but
it was flipping bushes.
Yeah, which screams you.
Yeah. Straight punch in the face in that one. Yeah. So I cannot complain. If there was any classic that set up good, that was the one.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Well, let's say like a fishery that sets up really well for you. If you had a biased choice, it was up to Hunter Shryock on where the next undecided classic was going to be.
Somewhere in South Carolina, because some reason I do really well in Tennessee or South Carolina. My track record in those states have been pretty well. So I don't know.
Yeah,
someplace there. Yeah.
Bring me back to Murray.
I don't really have like favorite places as long as it is like when that place is right. Does that make sense?
When it's fish, like
when it's
timing.
fishing right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I love fishing Champlain, but I don't like fishing Champlain the way it fishes now. Does that make sense? Like I love going out here on the river and fishing for largemouth.
Yeah.
But like you're not going to do anything fishing for largemouth.
No. But
in this event.
Hey,
I like that. I like that style. So yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a favorite venue, but I think just having it at new places would be nice. But
I think that does a lot for the fan bases when they see there's a level of excitement when they see a brand new lake name on the schedule.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Ray Roberts would have been cool to be there earlier, and I think that was because the whole I don't know what all was going on. They got pushed back.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Tennessee River last year was. I think would have been a really cool event. I think he was out on that one too. So
that looks so brutal for you.
It was only 50 minutes from the house, right?
Yeah.
Now we're going to Grand, which how far is Grand? probably, I don't know, 14 hours, 12
Yeah.
hours.
Yeah, something like that.
Whatever will be good. Grand will be good.
Yeah, all right.
Be all right.
You're in it. That's all that matters.
That's all.
It's 10 grand and a chance. That's all it is. That's what it is. Well,
That's true.
dude, you're no stranger to the show. Always good to see you.
I'm the fill-in guy.
No, you're not the filling guy.
I'm the fill-in
It just means
guy.
you always got a seat. That's all.
Bailey's like, hey, somebody can't make it on. Can you make it on tonight?
Yeah, it's probably your brother.
Yeah, it probably was.
Well, for real, appreciate you as always. Good talking here,
Thank
and
you.
yeah, it was fun, man. It was a fun
Yeah.
couple days.
Did you guys tell everybody what we're doing then? I mean, with X2 and stuff
Yeah.
out on the river?
Yep.
Yeah. All right, cool.
Yep, we've been actually with that. Well, quickly, how your day went with Fletcher? Who won?
Me.
You won?
Yeah.
Yeah, screw that guy.
Oh, was we fishing head to head?
Yeah, that was what.
We not keeping score?
I thought we were.
It was-
No.
Yeah.
I thought we were a team.
No.
The camera was rolling. We can figure out the points.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now you can see how these events go.
Was not a team tournament?
No, it was a 1v1.
I thought it was a pro showdown like what we did before
Pro versus
at
pro.
Neely.
Yeah.
That's what
we
I
did
assumed
the
Oh,
it
okay.
was.
Yeah, so it was.
Boat to boat.
Well,
No,
somebody.
I had my scale out and we're like, come on, get another one.
It's gonna be the most
Fletcher,
friendly
there's-
1v1 ever.
I'm like, there's three of them. There's three of them.
Throw here, there. Where I was sitting there, Josh is trying to put a reel in a 4-pounder. He's reeling a 4-pounder. I put his troll motor on 10, and I'm blasting away so he can't reel it in. Yeah, Josh and I got a little hostile today. It was fun. It was good.
That's good. No, I did not. How did I not get that memo?
I don't know. He thought it was a team tournament today, not a 1v1.
Hey, it'll be perfect because we literally went against nobody. So,
Yeah,
like,
you won. You won.
Meanwhile, Team XYZ, like crickets.
We have all these 1v1 showdowns, and then there's Hunter and Fletcher.
Yeah,
So-
come on.
Yeah.
Throw it that one.
Yeah.
All right, your turn.
Cue circus music.
We're like fighting the whole time.
Yeah. Somebody tomorrow will do a team showdown, and we'll clash it together.
Now I'm kind of wondering how much fighting would have happened if you
Right.
one
Yeah.
on one.
Yeah. Run it back. Run it
Yeah.
back.
It'd be like at 1 hour per person up front or something.
Yeah.
Is that what you and Josh did, or how?
No. I mean, he was on it for the most part. So it was
you
me
got-
trying to hip check him to get some.
how
get some-
is that fair?
Well, see, I would just let him pan around, and I would just sneak, and I usually would beat him to the cast.
Really?
Yeah, just
That's
because he
hard
would
to do.
go it, and then he'd line it up, and you just already cast it.
You're like, I'm gonna
I'm
risk
like, it's
it.
fine. You find them for
Yeah.
me. Yeah, I'll throw it where they're at. But yeah, it was a fun day for sure. But appreciate it as always, man. Fun time.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed that podcast there with the Shryock brothers. We're actually going to have Justin Hamner, who's with us on this trip as well, join the podcast here soon. We're going to have a new episode with him coming up. But really awesome episode. Very laid back, not nitty gritty, bass fishing, conversation, things that we usually get in depth about, but something that was a little more laid back. Some of their stories, the things that they went through to get to where they are. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please subscribe to Serious Angler. You guys, of course, can always listen here on MP3. Check out the other shows here on the Serious Angler Network. And, of course, as always, appreciate you all. You're amazing. We'll see you on the next one.